Hi friends, welcome back to the channel here at Paradise on Pennies. I'm Heather.
I'm Ramsey.
And today we wanted to give you guys another quick tip. This one is based off a comment that we got from one of our friends here on the channel who was asking about border crossing, specifically living on the road and crossing the border. And we want to give you guys some advice, particularly if you are living on the road, van life, SUV life, whatever. If you're on the road full time and you have to cross the border, there are some specific things you might want to keep in mind to make a smoother transition. And our advice is particularly based off of our own experience, which we've had a very good experience and a very poor or challenging experience based on some things that we didn't know at the time. So hopefully this helps some of you out to not have that issue that we had. So having said that, first let's tell you the story and you'll get an idea of what we did wrong and maybe get some ideas of things that you shouldn't do. So the first time that we crossed the border, it was, if you guys have been following along with our whole story, you might know that the first time we ever lived on the road, we were kind of doing more of a trial run of living on the road, and so a trial run that turned into 6 months. But at the time I had just finished going to school in Florida, so the vehicle still had Florida plates on it, but we had lived a bit in Colorado, so he had Colorado driver's license. So imagine this, going up to the border and having Florida plates and a Colorado driver's license. And then the Border Patrol basically starts asking us the questions, and we are so proud of the lifestyle that we're living and so proud to be living on the road and on the adventure that we go up eagerly, smiling and answer, we quit our jobs and we live on the road full time. And, so with that enthusiasm, our smiles quickly changed because the Border Patrol looked back at us unenthusiastically and basically said, pull around and come inside. Because, of course, our story kind of looked fishy, I guess, So, so that's the story of the mistake that we made. So based on that, now let's talk about what we learned from our experiences, that one and subsequent experiences crossing the border that you guys might want to take into consideration.
So yeah, when you're crossing the border, pretty much you just need to know the main questions that they're probably going to ask you, like where you're going, where you're from, and how long you're going to be here. And like we said, the first time we went through, we kind of just were a little too happy and just answered truthfully, which didn't work out too well because they don't like it if you don't have a house or a job or don't know where you're going. So if you're going across, just make sure you pick a place that you're going to go to or somewhere in the area, so you can answer quick and they'll know where that's at. And then just give them a kind of an itinerary of how long you're going to be there, or just for a couple weeks or whatever you want to be in.
Yeah, rather than obviously if you're on the road, you might be just winging it or something. We usually are, but we'll have a few places in mind that we're going to head to. So it's probably easier just to pick one of those destinations. So let's say if you're going into Canada or something, just like, say you're going to Banff National Park or wherever it is that you're headed. And just say that instead of, just try not to be too wishy-washy with your answers. Like, well, we might go here and then maybe here, just kind of a straightforward, that's what they're looking for. Like, this is where I'm from, this is where I'm headed to. And then, it's probably even best not to say, we don't know, we might be here for a month or two or whatever. It's probably just best to say, 2 weeks, road trip, and then we're back.
And the best way to answer where you're from is pretty much whatever matches your license plate and your driver's license, so it all kind of correlates together.
Yeah.
That seems to be the best way, which if you have a house, then it's even easier. You just tell them exactly where you're working and your job. So.
But if you live on the road, you probably don't. Well, if you live on the road full time like us. So if you can get if you're driving, obviously you have a vehicle registration and a license. So hopefully those match up and, as opposed to our story, which looks a lot better. And then in addition to that, so that's where you're from. So it's also probably best to just, if sometimes they'll ask what you do for an occupation. That's another common question. And so, it might be best for you to just give them, again, a straightforward answer of, let's say you're from California, or your vehicle registration or license plate and license is California. You probably just want to say, that's where you work, give them your occupation. I know that you might be in between jobs. I mean, when we live on the road, a lot of people work online, so you don't really have a specific location. Some people are picking up seasonal work. So you might be in between seasonal jobs. You might not be working. It's probably not best to say, I'm not working. It's probably just best to say whatever occupation you do when you are working. And, again, in that example, if you're from California, even if you do online work or seasonal work there, it's just say, I do this job in California. And then again, it sounds straightforward to them rather than sort of all over the place. So they don't think you're coming to squat on the land, I guess.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
So the other thing is just about dogs. It's kind of off and on with them. Sometimes they don't ask about them at all, and sometimes they just ask for their papers. So just make sure you have your papers ready with the rabies and
the specific thing. I don't think that they really seem to be looking at anything except for the rabies. I can't remember. I think the site might suggest other up-to-date shots, but I think they really are only looking for rabies. So yeah, you do want the paperwork that shows the rabies shots. And if you have it, some of them can be very long. It's probably highlight it where it actually says the date that shows it's a valid rabies shot, because we did have one where it was sort of it was kind of hard to find on the page. And
they're all different, so.
Yeah, so the guy was a little, trying to find it, and it's just, again, you want the process, the more smooth you can make the process, the easier it is. Now, nothing's really going to happen, but in our case, in that first example, it meant it was just kind of a pain, and we were kind of nervous, but, we go inside, and then we had to wait and be asked a bunch more questions, and...
Yeah, I'd put a dog in the cage outside, so they can search your car.
Yeah, so, just, I think if you follow these tips...
You should be good.
Line up your stuff, have a solid story, and have the paperwork for the dogs, if you have dogs, you shouldn't have any issues, because we didn't...
Last time we flew right through, so...
We learned our lesson, and last time was very smooth. So, having said that, here we are in beautiful Canada. This is a spot in the Yukon, which we absolutely love the Yukon. We love wilderness, and here we are. Yeah. So, hopefully you guys can make your way up too, with those tips on crossing the border. We'd love to see some more of you out there on the road. So happy trails, and until next time, see you later, guys.
See you soon, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.